Okay, everybody. So a lot of what this class is about is going to be very research driven. Okay. As I've stated in the previous class, and then also in some of the smaller lectures I've given already this semester, you don't know what you don't know. And, uh, you know, I think one thing you need to really consider is that in the truest sense of the word, knowledge is power. Not just being informed for the work products that you have to make, but also making sure that your clients are informed and knowledgeable about the work that you're doing. A lot of you will experience clients in your careers that they don't care, they don't know what you do, they don't have any interest in it. They just have a particular problem that requires a solution that only you are capable of, or only that can be achieved or solved through the skills that you possess. And that's just a fact of the matter. It's as true as the sky is blue. All right. But when it comes to you working at a job in your career, you need to make smart and informed decisions. And if you're working for a good company or a good employer, they will absolutely recognize and value your need for researching and understanding something thoroughly and completely, because they know that time is money and knowledge is time. The more you know, hypothetically, the less time it takes to produce an outcome. But they also realize inversely that to gain knowledge, that takes a profound amount of time. So if you are working for a design agency, they typically have research time built in, but it's not the whole budget. Most of the budget is dedicated to doing the work. All right. Some of you may have experienced this already with internships. Um, Clients don't want to pay for research that ultimately goes into the work product that you make, especially if it's research that cannot be used in the other functions of an organization. Okay, so you need to be able to research fast, research thoroughly. You need to have a strong awareness of what you're doing, who you're doing it for, etc. My job at Pitt, my job is director of digital marketing, and my job is to really understand not just our entire marketing environment, our marketing ecosystem, but to also understand the mentality of our prospective students. All right. So in this case, I need to know what you're thinking as a graduating high school senior to get you into college, to get you into Pitt. All right. So think about, for example, some of the things that led you to Point Park. Those are the things that I know and can manipulate and influence to get you to come to Pitt, for example. Okay. But generating that knowledge and influence or ability to manipulate or create influence did not come overnight. And that primarily came through research, and not just researching my clients or prospective students in this case, or the field of higher education, or even being in the classroom. A lot of this came from researching researchers, learning how people capture knowledge, learn what are the processes that they take to capture knowledge, to learn more about conceivably anything. Okay, so you as a designer will be developing work products that in your career that have cost a substantial amount of money. Okay, you don't want to screw up, and you need to be informed enough to avoid mistakes. Part of the wisdom here is building time to make mistakes. Granted, minor mistakes that inform knowledge, inform positive decision making, but also don't cost a company or a client millions of dollars or thousands of dollars or hundreds, whatever. Okay. So your first project, you're building a Divi site, a WordPress site, e-commerce specifically. You all use e-commerce. I use it. In fact, I used it an hour before I started this lecture. I bought an ebook, okay, on Amazon. Some of you are buying things every day, be it T-shirts or food or services or paying a bill. Our entire world is e-commerce. right? So I need you to use some of these methods that I'm going to show you, to get into the head of, or to put yourself in the position of your end users so that you can utilize your e-commerce site to sell more product, to make more money for yourself or for your client. Okay. And through this process, you'll be demonstrating how you're completing this research. Okay. If you are a designer that refuses to research and you rely purely on instinct, you're probably one of the stupidest designers I've ever met. Okay. Don't be a stupid designer, be a smart designer. And I think that you'll find if you use proper research methods to capture data, to inform your decision making, and you're making great decisions and you're making great products, that process will become so ingrained in what you do that you can't imagine starting a project without doing it. Okay. In some cases, some of these research practices bleed over into other aspects of your life. On the note of e-commerce, like if you're doing comparison shopping, right? Uh, I need to buy this, and um, where am I going to buy it? Where's the cheapest place that I can buy it? Where's the cheapest place that I can buy it that also has the best protection plan, right? Am I looking online? Am I interviewing people in the store? What am I doing? Right? It all bleeds over. In some cases, this even bleeds over into what food you're going to order for takeout. Okay, should I get the udon noodles from this place or this place? What's the customer reaction been? What's their rating? What's their proximity to my house? How much money am I going to have to spend in gas to go get this food? You can get really myopic and detailed, and I definitely don't recommend you do that because it'll drive you crazy. But when it comes to your vocation, to your career, you need to have these decisions in place. Trust me when I say that the more informed you are, the smarter you'll be. Not only the smarter you'll be, the smarter you'll appear. The smarter you appear, the more people believe you've got your shit together. The more people believe you've got your shit together, the less they will question you. The less they question you, the more power you will have. The more power you will have leads to more influence, more success, and more satisfaction over the work that you're doing. Now, keep it real, keep it level. You don't want to be a power monger, right? But some people don't. At a certain point, you're not going to want to be questioning every single little thing that you do. And you may do that now, you may not. I hope you don't, but um, it may happen. So you need to be as informed as possible. So let's talk about some of the methods that you can utilize in your website work. Now, there are dozens of methods, and I will introduce you to every single one of them. Okay. But for the first lecture, we're just going to talk about 10 specific research methods. Okay. And the first of which is called the 2x2 matrix. Okay. The 2x2 matrix is a really great solution for trying to ascertain uh, proper functionality or decision making with your website. Okay. And the 2x2 can be used on practically anything. Ultimately, what it does is it identifies contrasting attributes. Okay. So in this space, you can mark certain things, right? Now, granted, this particular chart is really used in the development it is used in digital products, but more like software and mobile apps and things like that. So a single function could be an ability to transact credit cards. Multi-function could be you're buying a service that is split across 3 different payment portals: PayPal, your credit card, your bank, and then whatever their processing agent is on the e-commerce site, right? If is it portable? Can you take, like, in the context of thinking about like going to a farmer's market and looking at like Pittsburgh Clothing Company, for example. I could go to their website and buy multiple products. So I have an ability to choose multiple products at multiple sizes. I can also do that in person. Or is it the type of place where you can only buy one thing, only one way? So you can identify these characteristics and plot them out in these areas. So if it's, I can only buy one thing one way, but I can buy it in more than one place, then I put an X over here, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. The 2x2 matrix is really a really quick way to break down contrasts in attributes and functions. It's almost like an elimination. Um, this will really help you find your vision. And in the context of professional practice, you're going to get a lot of clients that they want their websites to do everything. And this is really useful to identify that. So when you do the intake with them, they'll say, I want to do this, 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 and this. Okay, great. Let's chart it out. Let's talk about, let's do a needs assessment. Let's do a really practical and objective overview of those functions. And are they too much for your end users? Should you start small and then expand outward, right? Should you start with one product and then build out your product portfolio after that point? It all depends. But I think this is a really great way to break those options down, especially when you start talking about multifunctionality in your site. And if it's very fixed multifunctionality, like it doesn't change, it can't be anything else. So this is useful. You don't have to use single function, portable, multifunction, stationary. You can use you know, products, prices, promotion, placement, the 4 marketing Ps. You can set this to whatever you want, but really the 2x2 grid is really intended to break down complex ideas, complex processes into a very simple manner that you can then deliberate on in a very simple and intuitive way. I think you'll find if you have one quadrant that's hitting a lot of X's, regardless of what it is, then you may find that you need to make decisions in accordance with where the trends are, with where those positive decisions are. You can even plot this out with positives and negatives, right? So get creative with it. Use it as you need to, all right? So let's look at A/B testing. Now I know I've spoke about this before, and A/B testing is going to be really important for 2 pages of your first project. Specifically the homepage, and then a page where you can buy a product. So, well, and even third, the product page itself. So I land on your homepage, and if it's optimized, it's got a clean design, it's attractive, it's easy to navigate, it's easy for me to purchase something, like I barely have to think about it, then that's probably a good solution. But there's also multiple ways to accommodate that or accomplish that specific task. So as you're designing your homepage, design it twice, design it 3 times, design it 4, A, B, C, D, have multiple versions, and then break those down and try to get a sense of what works and what doesn't. Take what works, put it into a new version. Maybe that's version A. Take some things that have potential but may not be as intuitive or organic, put them in version B. Compare the 2 and see which one stands the victor, essentially. Okay, so your home pages, they need to be optimized for the end user. I don't want to work to figure something out. So I might have to sneeze here. Okay, so you can do multiple tests for different pages of your website. So we talked about the homepage. Now let's talk about the product page, the product gallery. You can get a lot of versions out of that, because it's important how people, you know, buy things and spend their money. And if you take a look at my e-commerce site here, shop.pluspublic.org, you know, here's the homepage, Try to make it very clean, simple, contemporary, focus on the products. And, I sell a few things every month, and that's pretty cool. Put an emphasis on the mock-ups, returns, all of that stuff. So it's very visual, pretty nice. We've got some Instagram there. But when you click on shop, let's take a look at that. So you click on shop and you can search by brand or product. Well, I don't necessarily want to search, but I could. It's there. I can sort by different categories. Popularity, average rating, latest, low to high, high to low. I've got dozens of products on here in different variations. Bellevue, Avalon, States. Let's click on this octopus that I made I didn't make the artwork, but I just put it on a shirt for a friend. Here's what the page looks like. So we've got the breadcrumb trail, we've got product categories. I can choose this in different colors. It shows you the mock-up immediately. I can buy it with Google Pay, or I can add it to a cart. And then the next step would be to go to the shopping cart, view cart. What does that experience look like? You can do A/B tests for all of these things. So, maybe a good exercise would be doing A/B tests for my shop's pages, okay? This is using Divi, WordPress, and WooCommerce, which you'll be using for this project. So your goal would be to design something better than what I've got here, okay? So A/B testing can be just a really useful tool. And, when you're working in the industry, you're going to have to do it. You're just going to have to do it. Okay, so moving on. Another research method is analytics insights. So I actually spend a good portion of my day every day in Google Analytics. I'm looking at the audience capture when they're visiting the site, how long, how many sessions do they have, how many are new users. I'm tracking everything that I can, and the data that I collect is incredibly informative, especially for the decisions that I need to make with the site. And it's incredible how informative analytics can be. And you're going to need to set up Google Analytics and Search Console and Webmaster Tools on all of your sites now and moving forward, because knowledge is power, all right? Knowledge is influence. Knowledge is going to improve your work, okay? The more informed decisions that you make, the better. So Google Analytics is going to tell you everything you need to know. And I wholeheartedly recommend that some of you take some of the Google Analytics programming, their classes and certification tests. Definitely take a look at those, because when people realize it, let me put it to you this way. In the business world, specifically business education, all the students that are coming out of Pitt Business, they are getting some level of business analytics or data analytics background and skills. So that makes them highly valuable. You will be better off if you are a designer that really has an appreciation and understanding of data, but knows how to collect it, knows how to interpret and analyze it, and knows how to use it to influence decision-making positively. Okay, you can really get lost in the rabbit hole that Google Analytics is, and you can make some really great decisions on it. Especially in the context of an e-commerce site, you're going to know what products are being viewed the most. Not only are your sales numbers going to tell you that, but your sales numbers might not tell you how many people are visiting but not buying. Okay, that your sales numbers, if they're not buying, you won't see it in your sales numbers, but you may know that there's a product there that may be right on the verge of kicking over to a successful sale. The next research method is as is and to be. So what this, and you've actually experienced this method already. As is, the idea here is that you are comparing a present iteration of a design, in this case, the wireframe and the mock-up, you're comparing it against the working prototype. Okay, in this case, the prototype image. So you'll see the differences between the two. And when you build a website or a mobile app or a software application, how it looks in its wireframe or even in its mock-up is usually not similar to how it looks in its final iteration. And even in its final iteration, it will continue to be updated over time. I don't even know how many times Twitter updated their interface with either new functions or new fonts throughout the pandemic. It's just been crazy how much they've changed their platform. All right. But what this does is this gives you the benefit of hindsight. So you can see where you started and you can see the decisions that you made that led you to the prototype. Maybe there's something there that was unexplored. All right. But additionally, what this does is this demonstrates growth and development and change. So an example of this would be the Jefferson Hills Public Library, which I'm working on, and hopefully you've seen the other video there. So here is their present website. Note how long it takes to load, okay? And this is what they're using now. This is as is. This is happening now. This is the design as it is now. That's the operative phrase. It's a mess. It's incoherent. There's some order and hierarchy, but for the most part, it's just stuff on white space, okay? Here is the version that I'm working on. So you can see the nav menu, slider. We've got these 5 buttons that are interactive, featured books that move into place. These items fade in. There's the footer and then the absolute bottom. And now I can compare these two things together. Is this future design better than the as-is design? You bet your butt it is, absolutely. The client needs to see that. They don't necessarily have the benefit of hindsight. They, in this particular context, the client is a new hire. They know this version, but they don't know the previous versions, right? So her job is to get as close or past this design for the future. Okay, so this will also demonstrate growth to not just your client, but also to your client's clients. They may develop an appreciation for the changes that have been made, especially if they are longtime customers of your client. Or they're in a focus group, they'll be able to see what their contributions led to throughout this process. Okay, so the next version is, the next method rather, is called backcasting. Backcasting is where you establish your ultimate future vision of your product or your website. And I actually do this with all of my clients where, hey, let's get to the place where you want to be. What does your company look like 10 years from now, 5 years from now, a year from now? Let's establish those future visions and go from there. And then that future vision, you essentially step back. You start with the outcome, and then you move backward and you build the steps that ultimately will lead to that outcome. This is very much the definition of working in reverse, all right? But sometimes working at the end and then working toward the beginning is more intuitive and logical than it is working from the beginning to the end without an end destination in mind. The next one is body storming. The next method is body storming. Body storming is something that is beneficial in person. And essentially what this is role playing where one person plays the designer, one person plays the user, or there's a moderator, no designer, but a group of users, right? The designers use this to gain an empathic view of particular experiences that an end user may experience on a digital solution, digital product like a website. They try to gain empathy and understanding of how different people use their tools because not everyone's going to search one website the same way. We can design it in a way where we can get some trends and consistency in how people use it, but more often than not, people are going to do their own thing. So we need to design it as intuitive and as logical as possible for people to navigate. All right. One of the best ways to do this is to literally be in person with them as they're doing it, watching them do it, and then switching the roles. So then you can show them how to do it, or how to navigate a website. Or maybe there's just a moderator and it's more like a focus group and the users are designing the solution. Here are the things that they want. They're telling the moderator, and then they're actually doing sketches and developing paper prototypes of what they want. And then the designer takes all of that data and feedback and incorporates that into the design. That is extremely informed and creates a significant benefit, but the time consumption there is quite large. Okay, so claims analysis. All right, so I have a claim on a product. So for example, shop.pluspublic.org. I really love their products, but I hate their website. All right, that is a claim from one person. Or an alternative would be, I really love their products, but their website is difficult to use. So if that's claim one, move that over to the box in the middle. And is that a positive or a negative? So the more claims you collect, you can map them to a positive claim or a negative. All right. When you look at the two columns, if there's more positive than negative, then that's kind of a net win for everybody. It basically says that you're doing things right and the improvements that you're making are yielding benefit and positive outcomes for your end users. Alternatively, if most of the claims are negative, then not only do you have product design problems, but you probably have a PR problem too, and you probably have a business problem because your sales might be dipping. Okay, nothing is more frustrating than trying to buy a product and a site is designed in such a way that it's difficult to buy it. It doesn't make any sense, and it's more common than not. All right. So you look at the two columns. If it's positive, you discuss the challenges, you identify options for solutions or options for different types of solutions, or maybe there's one or more. But you identify the best options for moving forward or developing solutions. And then you also do that with the negative column. And then you compare and contrast the two. Is your problem solving feel more insurmountable than not? If you have more problems to solve and you feel like you're not going to be able to do them either well or within a reasonable time frame that will satisfy your end users, then you have a really big problem. Okay. Inversely, if you've got a lot of positive claims, then you can keep moving forward as intended and making small tweaks here and there. Cognitive walkthrough. So similar to the body storming, the cognitive walkthrough is where you sit down at your computer, you load your website, you have a list of questions or queries or prompts that you need to go through, and you need to put your mindset into that of your end user. Do the things that they're doing. You can actually track using Hotjar or heat mapping the things that they're doing on your website. I recommend watching those recordings and then doing the exact same thing that they do to understand why people are making the decisions that they're making. All right. Be objective, be real, take notes on your experience, and then make changes. Test, tweak, modify. Are the changes good? Great. Maybe keep them. Are the changes bad? Good. Toss them. You know now what not to do. Okay. And then you rinse and repeat, and you continue doing that process over the course of your time working on a project. Especially if it's e-commerce, you need to be doing that frequently. Competitive analysis. So this is something that I know you've all touched on in the previous class, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it. But again, you don't know what you don't know, and you need to see what your competitors are doing well, not well. Are they offering new products or services? Are they dropping their prices? What's their shipping, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The better you understand your clients, the better your website will be. I'm sorry, the better you understand your competitors and your clients, the better your website will be. Your goal is to destroy them. Design accordingly. And then this is the sweet spot, okay? This is where you need to get with all of your projects. You need to hit the black triangle, okay? You need to balance desirability. So when someone looks at your website, they're intrigued, they want to buy or opt into an experience or buy a product. It is attractive to them. So this is peak influence, okay? Feasibility, it's easy for them to participate with their technology. They don't have to work to figure something out on their device, on their computer, on their phone, whatever. And then viability, can you provide desirable outcomes utilizing the technology of your end users and still maintain a profit and managing and being a good steward of your bottom line? If you can hit all three of those things, especially in your website project, you are going to be in a profoundly great place. So those are some of the research methods that I want you to think about as you're building your website. You can sell whatever product you want on your project, but you gotta hit the sweet spot and you gotta use those methods to get there. So good luck and happy researching.